Hi everyone, thanks for joining the session. I'm Yen Ling, Assistant Director of Action Committee for Entrepreneurship, which is a non-profit national level organization that builds and develops the Singapore startup ecosystem. So I'm honored today to actually give a sharing on the emerging issues in Asia Startup Hub. So for the flow of the session, there's 5 key areas that we'll be touching on. So first part is on the emerging issues in Asia Startup Hub. Second is the need for a startup hub. The third segment will be on the connected startup ecosystem. On the fourth segment, I'll briefly touch on the startup ecosystem in Singapore as well as the investment landscape. And lastly, I'll talk on the startup support in Singapore, specific to investments and fundraising for startups. So now I'll deep dive on the emerging issues in the Asia Startup Hub. So as you all know, in the recent years, there's a COVID, and what it means for startups is that technology startups that are on the forefront of digital transformation and innovation actually benefited from the COVID itself. So right now, how does the Asia startup ecosystem look like moving forward? It's actually faced with challenges. So first, as a whole, I will touch a little bit on China. So China is a key startup hub in Asia as well. And what happened recently or last year is that there's a government crackdown on China tech companies. So regulations such as competitiveness strategy as well as data privacy are being cracked down on tech companies itself. And since last year, China tech companies have been laying off its workers. And another thing to take note is that for Asia as a whole, they are facing macroeconomic headwinds. This is due to a variety of reasons. First, we have inflation due to the war in Ukraine with higher oil prices. Secondly, there's also in Asia itself, there's COVID still persists. So for China, there's a lockdown which affects the supply chains and businesses. And because of supply chain issues, this give rise to inflation and stuff like that. Yeah. So macroeconomic headwinds is very real, and it's projected that in the next 2 years, there will be recession happening. Because with the drop in demand and with rising interest rates, this has affected the global economic situation. And lastly, because of the macroeconomic headwinds that's faced in the Asia startup ecosystem, this has led to a decline in exit multiples in the public stock market. So what we see is that for tech startups and tech companies, there is a correction going on in the stock market itself, which affects the public tech companies badly. And because of this, this will lead to a decline in exit multiples for our private startups and our private companies. So right now in the investment startup ecosystem globally as a whole, there's already a drop in funding. If you look at the Q over Q growth investment, and this has impacted Asia as well. So in the next few quarters, we anticipate further drop in investments, fundraising, and investors are pretty cautious in investing in startups, and the valuations of startups have dropped as well. Yeah. So these are some of the emerging issues that we anticipate. So next up, I will talk about the need for a startup hub. With all these, emerging issues faced in the Asia startup ecosystem right now and in the months to come, that is why it's important, to have a startup hub itself. So, what is a startup hub? So, a startup hub actually benefits the startup founders because startup hubs creates a vibrant ecosystem. So, in a startup hub, you have key ecosystem stakeholders such as the VCs, government agencies, corporate innovation teams, incubators, accelerators, and the startup founders actually housed under one roof. So what this means is that it fosters actually deeper networks and collaboration among the key stakeholders itself. So, in the face of emerging issues in the Asian startup ecosystem, the startup hub will actually, be very beneficial for the startups founder themselves because they are still able to tap on the networks that can be found in the startup hub. So I'll touch briefly on what makes a startup hub vibrant. So these are the key components that are important to a startup hub. So first is regulation itself. So regulation in terms of doing business. So whether there's ease of doing business in the country itself. So when there's a higher ease of doing business in the country, it will contribute to a more vibrant startup hub because you will have more international startups being able to incorporate, in the country itself, which give rise to competitiveness in the startup hub, which is good for businesses. So the second one is proximity to customers. So in a startup hub, when you have all your key stakeholders housed under one roof, it will give rise to an increase in proximity to potential customers. This can be potentially your corporate innovation teams who are looking to scout for startups to solve certain problem statements together or to co-pilot certain solutions together. A third, proximity to funding. So with a startup hub, there will be an increase in proximity to funding because you can network with investors easily in the startup hub itself. Fourth, proximity to expertise. So expertise can be your service providers like incorporation service provider, legal provider, and so on, or it can be your talent that you're looking to hire to grow your startup. So with a startup hub itself, it's easier to tap on your incorporation service provider, your legal services, and it's easier to actually, hire talents in the startup hub itself. The fourth is innovation culture. So a startup hub needs to, encourage innovation culture within the hub itself, so that more innovative tech solutions can be started in the startup hub. For the next pointer is on government support. So in a startup hub, one of the key stakeholders is your government agencies. Normally, these government agencies are the one who organize a national level startup conferences and forums, and they are also the one that have support in terms of, let's say, visa or grants that's provided to startup founders. So if the relevant government agencies are situated in the startup hub, it makes it easier for startups to tap on the government supports to actually get grants or to actually get visa or to tap on their networks itself. And lastly, competitiveness. This ties back to the regulation because with better regulation, you attract more international founders to actually land in a startup hub, and this introduces competitiveness in the startup hub, which is good for businesses as a whole. Yep. So one example of a startup hub in Singapore is actually this area called Launchpad. So the first Launchpad is actually at Launchpad at One North itself. So Launchpad at One North comprised of 8 blocks, and it houses 800 technology startups and 50 enablers. So when I say enablers, it means corporate innovation teams, government agencies, accelerators, incubators, as well as investors. So as you can see, it creates a very vibrant ecosystem in the Launchpad itself because the enablers are in such close proximity with your technology startups, and your technology startups in such close proximity to each other, and they can benefit by leveraging on each other's products and services to grow their business. So for Launchpad at One North is situated very near NUS, which is the biggest, one of the biggest university in Singapore, and it's very close to the R&D department of NUS. So with close proximity to such universities, it encourages R&D commercialization and spin-off into startups. So startups that spin off from the R&D can be housed in the Launchpad. So the Launchpad model is so successful that JTC, the government agency, are already in progress of expanding a few more Launchpad around Singapore. So there is already a Launchpad at Jurong, which houses clean tech startups. And next up, we are going to have 2 more Launchpad at Changi Business Park and also at Punggol Digital District, which house digital startups. So for these 4 Launchpad, they are situated they will be situated very near your university. So for example, the Jurong Innovation District is situated near NTU, the Changi Business Park is situated near SUTD, and the Punggol Digital District will be situated near SIT. So for the startup hub, for the launchpad itself, there's a lot of deep strength in the startup ecosystem launchpad. So around 77% of startups have either developed, licensed, or acquired IP. So in the various industry itself. And the launchpad ecosystem is very vibrant because, as I've mentioned previously, a lot of international founders are situated in the startup hub, and launchpad have around 43 nationalities of founders situated in launchpad, and almost 50% of the startup have at least one foreign founders. So this makes launchpad very vibrant, and this makes launchpad highly connected to the talents and international markets. So around 76% of the startups in launchpad have an international presence. So next up, I'll talk about the connected startup ecosystem. So it is good to have a startup hub in the individual cities and country, but it is important for the various startup hubs to get connected to each other as well, so that you can form a connected startup ecosystem, linking cities to cities. So I'll give you one example. So for Singapore, it's situated right in the midst of Southeast Asia, and Singapore is a very connected country with a very connected startup ecosystem in Southeast Asia as well as in Asia as well. So from Singapore, you can see that it's just a 3 to 4 hours flight to the entire Southeast Asia region. It's just a 5 to 6 hours flight to Asia Pacific with access to more than 4.2 billion people. So that is why it's important for Singapore itself to have a connected startup ecosystem itself. And for Southeast Asia as a whole, it's a rising startup ecosystem because it has a very high global growth rate. It's the third world's largest market, and it's also will be the fourth world's largest economy by 2050. So I would like to talk about ACE International Network. So ACE International Network is an initiative by ACE itself in an effort to link up the various cities, startup hubs together to form one connected ecosystem. So due to our partnerships, right now we have networks with 15 cities across which have access to 25,000 startups. So this is important because it forms the basis of cross-border market access, and for corporate innovation teams, they can easily tap on the regional startups for co-innovation. So some example of ACE International Network. So we have international network across 50 cities in the Southeast Asia region as well as globally. So for these partners, they are either your overseas government agencies themselves or overseas national startup ecosystem developers, or they can be private entities that are involved in building startup hubs like True Digital Park itself in Bangkok. So next up, I'll talk more about the Singapore startup ecosystem, more geared towards the investment side of things. So as a whole, Singapore startup ecosystem is vibrant and thriving. So in 2012, we have 3,400 technology startups, but this has since increased to 3,800 technology startups right now in 2022. So we also see an increase in venture funding. So in 2012, we only have 80 deals that amounts to USD 136 million. But right now, it has increased to 592 deals, which amounts to 10.9 USD billion. So in Singapore, there's I think right now more than 5 unicorns nurtured already in Singapore. So some of it is Razer, Grab, C Groups, and SG-Tracks. So for Singapore, we are the top 20 startup ecosystem in the world itself. So the Startup Genome report just came out, earlier this month, and Singapore is the top, is in rank 18 among the global startup ecosystem. So for the Singapore startup ecosystem, it comprises of a lot of stakeholders like VCs, investors, accelerators, corporates, incubators, co-working space, government institutions, as well as Institute of Higher Learnings for Youth Entrepreneurship. And ACE is in the middle, facilitating all these connections. So as I mentioned previously, Singapore has 3,800 technology startups, and around half of them are in the consumer digital space. This is followed by 15% in enterprise tech space, and then the next 10% is in the fintech space. And then next up, we have edtech, health tech, advanced manufacturing, and so on. So the Singapore government is very focused on developing deep tech startups. So we expect in future years to come the deep tech sector to grow itself. So right now, I'll talk on the investment side of things in Singapore startup ecosystem. So in the Singapore startup ecosystem, we have around 375 seed and Series A startups in Singapore. And for these startups, the top sectors comprise of fintech, enterprise tech, and then followed by biotech, health tech, medtech, and then IoT and urban solutions. So out of the 375 seeds and Series A startups in Singapore, these are the top sectors itself. Next up, apart from seed and Series A, we'll also talk about growth stage investments. So growth stage investments look at Series B onwards. So for Series B itself, we can see that the average Series B deal size has increased by 60% from 2014 to 2019 itself. And in the Singapore startup ecosystem, we have around 150 VCs in Singapore, out of which 63 VCs are looking at growth stage investments for Series B and above. So for this list of VCs on this page here, they are your VCs looking at growth stage investments, Series B and above. So right now, I will deep dive into certain key startup industries in the Singapore startup ecosystem. So first is the fintech industry. So for fintech, is a very big industry in Singapore, whereby the Singapore government encourage fintech innovation experiments, in Singapore itself. So that's why there's a fintech regulatory sandbox program by MAS to encourage innovative fintech experimentations. And MAS actually also issue digital bank licenses to non-bank companies to boost digitalization in the Singapore banking system. And fintech investment in Singapore has increased sharply as well. So in 2019, basically the fintech investment in Singapore has doubled from USD 365 million in 2018 to USD 861 million in 2019. Another key startup industry is health tech. So health tech ecosystem in Singapore has matured over the years and is currently home to around 9% of Asia's health tech startups. So as you can see in 2012, there's only 45 health tech startups that receive funding. But as of 2018, there's an increase to around 174 health tech startups that receive funding as well, and we see more and more later investment and even exits right now. So health tech industry is set to increase further, and the Singapore government has allocated 4 billion to health and biomedical science R&D as part of his research and innovation enterprise 2025-year plan. So for health tech, as you know, Singapore is the HQ for a lot of global pharma and medical devices manufacturer in Singapore itself. So they set up their HQ in Singapore. So because of this, more and more corporates with the HQ in Singapore are looking to collaborate with health tech startups to pilot certain solutions together or to do joint R&D together. So as you can see, the bigger circles are the corporates and the smaller circles are the startups. So each corporates have collaboration or pilot projects with individual startups based on the problem statements that they're looking at or based on certain technology that they wish to develop. So Singapore government will continue to focus on a deep tech industry. And what do I mean by deep tech industry? They are your AI, agri and food tech, advanced manufacturing, bio and med tech, as well as robotics. So Singapore government aims to develop Singapore as a deep tech hub of Asia, and they have set aside 19 billion in R&D and additional 300 million in 2020 for the government to co-invest in deep tech startups up to 4 million Sing dollars per startup. So right now, lastly, I'll talk about the startup support in Singapore. So for the startup support in Singapore, it's very vibrant and very strong government support. So Startup SG is an initiative on a government level and is set up by Enterprise Singapore to support tech startups in Singapore or looking to expand in Singapore itself. So because of Startup SG, startups can benefit from supportive government policy and infrastructure. They can also benefit on the grants and equity scheme under Startup SG that founders can tap on. And they have a large network of investors in Singapore and corporates in Singapore itself, which give access to potential deals in terms of business deals as well as fundraising deals for startups. So as you can see, some of the grants are actually listed here. So Startup SG Founder and Startup SG Tech are grants for Singapore incorporated companies. So because they are grants, no equity will be taken. So Startup SG Founder Grant is for first-time entrepreneurs who incorporated in Singapore itself, and the grant amount is up to 50,000 Singapore dollars. So to tap on the 50,000 Singapore dollars, startup needs to have a differentiated business ideas. The founders need to be a first-time entrepreneur, and the startup needs to have at least 51% local shareholding. Next up, Startup SG Tech Grant is for startups that are doing very heavy R&D and commercialization efforts. So for the R&D portion, there's a grant amount of up to 250,000 Sing dollars. And for the commercialization side, similarly, there's a grant amount of up to 250,000 Singapore dollars itself. So this is for tech startups who are very heavily involved in R&D and are looking to do deep commercialization work itself. Next up, Startup SG Equity. So this is an equity investment scheme, a co-investment scheme to actually invest in the startup alongside with a list of accredited private investors itself. So in terms of the amount and equity dilution, is on a case-by-case basis for the startups. Then next up, a Startup SG loan is basically a loan amount that the startups can borrow under this scheme. And then next up, you have your various non-funding initiatives under Startup SG. So you have a Startup SG Talent for startups to tap on hiring of interns, to actually grow their startup. And then you have a Startup SG network that allows startups to tap on investors, accelerators, incubators, and so on. So I've covered this earlier. So Startup SG Equity is a co-investment opportunities, and the focus area, there are two main areas. So if you're a general tech startups, you can apply for Startup SG Equity, and if you're a deep tech startup, you can do so as well. And next up, there's also a Startup SG Accelerator Initiatives. So this is an incubator and accelerator support for startups looking to actually scale in Singapore itself and to actually nurture high potential startups. So the Singapore government work closely with this list of incubators and accelerators to actually of the profile of accelerators and incubators in Singapore itself that's supported by the Singapore government. So as you can see, the top incubator, majority of the incubator accelerators are looking out for IoT and urban solutions style startups, and this followed by fintech, clean tech, biotech, health tech, medtech, and then lastly agri-tech. And for international startups looking to expand into Singapore, there are various schemes you can tap on. So if you're a first-time entrepreneur, you can tap on the Startup SG Founder Grant. And if you're looking to work in Singapore, you need to get the Entre Pass. So the Entre Pass visa is for foreign entrepreneurs looking to start a business in Singapore, and it's open to all nationalities. So upon approval, the duration is 1 year, and if you want to renew, it will be a 2 years duration. And there's also the startup tax exemption scheme, whereby there's tax exemption on the first of 100% of the first 100K in profits, and then there's a tax exemption of 50% on the next 100K and so on. Yeah. So I've come to the end of my presentation. So thank you everyone, and I look forward to hearing from you.
Hi everyone, I'm Yvonne from Malaysia Digital Economy Corporation. Thank you to NIA Thailand for inviting MDEC to be on this forum to share about Malaysia's startup ecosystem and landscape. So I'll just start my presentation now. Okay. So I'm Yvonne again, and I look after the startup ecosystem in Malaysia, looking at growing our startup companies, tech companies in Malaysia, as well as assisting them or facilitating them in funding activities, market access activities, as well as looking outwards to other countries and how we attract tech companies from overseas into Malaysia. A little bit about the ASEAN landscape for everyone here. So in terms of digital opportunities for ASEAN, it's the third largest in population and workforce behind India and China. And for the economy, for GDP contribution, it's the fifth largest. We look at FDI inflows as well, and then we look at the internet economy as a whole, very much into e-commerce, food delivery, and digital financial services. So ASEAN is really ripe for this type of internet activities. And for internet users, it's above or 80% above digital consumers, 440 million within ASEAN. So what we're trying to say here is ASEAN is really, really ripe for the digital economy and for companies within ASEAN to thrive, as well as to look beyond ASEAN and to attract tech companies into the ASEAN region. Malaysia, on its own, some noteworthy mentions that we want to share. We are in the top 5 for various reasons. If you look at the first one, in terms of talent competitiveness, we're number 1. Starting a business in 2021, we are rated 5th across all these countries. In terms of ease of doing business within ASEAN, we are ranked 2nd. Investor relations and investment activities, we are 2nd. In terms of competitiveness ranking by IMD, WIPO for Innovation Index, Intellectual Property Index, and Global Services Location Index, we are 2nd and 3rd. So this is just to give everybody a view of where Malaysia stands in the global stage. Back in 2021, we had launched a My Digital Blueprint to accelerate our digital economy. And to share with everybody, there were a few achievements that we aspire to reach. So by 2025, for example, we want to have at least 5 unicorns coming out of Malaysia. By 2025, we want to create 5,000 startups within the ecosystem. In terms of IP creation and digital content, we have KPI in there as well. We want to achieve 8% average annual growth rate for digital content between now and 2025, as well as to establish Malaysia as a fintech innovation accelerator hub for Malaysia. So fundamentally, for the tech ecosystem, these are some of the key aspirations that My Digital Blueprint is trying to achieve by 2025. And for MDEC, we aspire to align our programs and initiatives according to these KPIs that the government of Malaysia has set up for us to do. So back to MDEC, who we are, what we do. We are an agency that spearheads digital economy for Malaysia. And within the industry focus area that we look at under digital economy, there are 3 components. We look at digitally skilled Malaysians, where we come in as MDEC to empower and to scale up our Malaysian workforce. The second one is on digitally powered businesses, where we encourage companies or we promote digital adoption across businesses so that productivity is increased, efficiency is increased, and labor cost is decreased. So we have a lot of initiatives and programs that are tuned towards digitally empowering our businesses. And the third, of course, is digital investments, where we want to attract large companies into Malaysia, large tech companies into Malaysia to create more business opportunities for our local market, for our local ecosystem, as well as transferring of knowledge and essentially to revitalize and enrich our economy. So these three main pillars are key towards driving our digital transformation journey for Malaysia. So now I'm going to just zoom into MDEC and what we do for our tech ecosystem, both local and foreign. These are some of the initiatives that we have, starting from how we nurture startups all the way to facilitating our scale-ups to go global, to get funding and to be more creative. So there are 7 initiatives that we've set out to do, and fundamentally we start with our startup and community building initiatives. That's where the companies, our tech community come together, and MDEC, we work together with industry partners to create programs to nurture these guys, to build community engagements with the startup ecosystem. So we have that as the first one. And we also look at certain tech focus areas, primarily in BDA, IoT, and AI, where we bridge the gap between our startups as well as the companies, the SMEs, the corporates, even the academia, even the government agencies or government and ministries, so that there are more business opportunities in the areas of BDA, IoT, and AI. And that's where we encourage a lot of pilots coming up from there. We encourage business opportunities from there. Next, we have our MDEC Innovation Exchange Program. That's essentially a corporate innovation program where we look at corporates' pain points or challenges. And we then look at the solution providers that can help address these corporates' challenges, especially in the areas of technology and digital activities in the corporates, as well as to also help the corporates go towards or move towards a digital transformation agenda within their corporation or within their agency. Next would be on funding facilitation and investor relations. So our startup community, yes, you have ideas, you have products and all that, but they also need funding facilities. They need funding assistance, financial assistance. So we have a network of funders, VCs, both local and foreign, where we try to match our startups and our VC community to encourage more funding facilitation activities between the two. The next one is on global market access, and that's where we look at companies or scale-ups, if you look at the slide, scale-ups that are ready to go abroad. And we want to ease that facilitation for our companies to be able to set up presence in other countries. And for cloud and security, cybersecurity, we have a host of companies that are pretty matured in this particular area, and we want to be able to enhance their presence or enhance their value propositions outside of Malaysia. And we have a program that does just that. And the last one is specifically for really mature companies, tech companies that are ready to go beyond where they are right now. And the main agenda here is to look at the high potential companies and turn them into unicorns. So that's our FOX program that we have in place. So essentially all these programs are to facilitate and to help our tech startup community as well as our scale-up community in Malaysia. Just to go even further down into what we do for our tech community, for the creation of startups and capacity building of our tech startup ecosystem, we have a few initiatives that provide such activities for our startup community. The first one is Malaysia Digital Hub. Those are physical locations or co-working spaces that are certified Malaysia Digital Hubs, where there are pockets of tech communities in there. So we work together with partners, our talent partners, funding partners, as well as tech partners, and create programs to enhance our engagements and to enhance the capability of these companies so that they are ready to go to market, they are ready to go overseas, and they are ready to be more innovative and creative in terms of their value propositions and their solutions to the market. The next one, I think, which is very, very applicable to our audience here, foreign tech companies. If you're looking to come into Malaysia, we have a program that's called Malaysia Tech Entrepreneur Program. This is where we facilitate the entrance of entrepreneurs coming into Malaysia, and we provide a 1-year pass or a 5-year MTET pass to these entrepreneurs to set up their businesses in Malaysia. We have another area in terms of Accelerator and Venture Builder, where we work with a lot of Accelerator partners, Accelerator or Venture Builder partners. We curate programs there. We do a lot of workshops together with the tech startup ecosystem. We do a lot of mentorship programs, and in these programs, we also help the companies to do pitching, storytelling, activities, and just to make sure that they are ready to talk about their products and solutions and to sell their products and solutions to the market out there. For Idea Nation program, it's where we go back to the fundamentals of creating new startups. This is where we encourage new entrepreneurs, even graduates coming out of universities, to start thinking about how they want to create their own business in the tech world. So they will go through storytelling sessions, they'll go through mentorship programs, they'll go through MVP workshops to create new products and solutions. So this is where it's aligned to our My Digital Blueprint to create new startups within the Malaysian tech ecosystem. On a higher level, way past the new startup ecosystem, there is this other program that we do where we connect our startup ecosystem with corporates, with the larger SMEs to solve their digital transformation journey, for example, or if these corporates and SMEs want to be more innovative and want to adopt tech solutions. This is where we understand their problem statements or their challenges, and then we connect them with our tech community in Malaysia. So just to give a view of how large our tech community is, we have close to about 1,000 startups in our database with different types of solutions serving different types of industries. So this is where we encourage a lot of collaboration between the startups as well as the corporates and the SMEs in Malaysia. Again, I spoke a little bit about our BDA, IoT, AI, or deep tech activities that we have. Again, it's to also encourage business opportunities, to do POCs, and at the end of the day, it's to encourage more innovations coming out from our tech ecosystem and to feed the new innovations into our corporates, our SMEs, and our business users at large. And the focus areas that we create for all these collaborations are into these areas that we have, the digital agriculture, all the way to digital content and digital tourism. So our companies in Malaysia, the tech ecosystem, their solutions and their tech solutions will all serve these focus sectors, and it's across the board. So specifically for foreign tech startups that want to venture into Malaysia and to start a business in Malaysia, we have this initiative called Malaysia Digital Hub. It's essentially a co-working space where a lot of activities are co-created together with our partners to boost community engagement within the location. So things like access to our partners, tech partners like Microsoft, Facebook, we create programs together with them to benefit the startups that are located in Malaysia Digital Hub. We've got programs in talent, we've got programs for funding facilitation, we've got programs that engage, that promote engagements between tech startups and the corporates or the larger SMEs. We also have programs, accelerator programs that we run to benefit the community at the hubs, as well as partnering with our talent partners to increase your skill sets or to diversify your skill sets, within your organization. So as a whole, we have 10 MDH operators, basically co-working spaces, and 21 locations in 21 different locations. And across the 21 locations, there are over 400 startups, out of which more than half are tech community-based startups. So I talked about a little bit about the MTAP program earlier. If you're coming into Malaysia, you want to explore the market in Malaysia, of course, through some due diligence, and if you get it, there are two types of passes for foreign tech entrepreneurs coming into Malaysia. The first one is on a one-year pass, where you are a new entrepreneur, you just want to look at the possibilities of setting up a business in Malaysia, and you get a one-year pass. For a 5-year pass, that is if you are already an established entrepreneur, you already have a business in Thailand, for example, or a business in Singapore, for example, and you want to expand your business in Malaysia. So through, again, due diligence, you get a 5-year pass. And that goes for the tech investors. So basically, if you're a VC or a venture builder, you are eligible for that pass. So that's a 5-year pass. Just very brief overview on the number of applications that we've done so far since 2017. It's close to about 400 applications, but only 220 are approved because these guys go through very, very strict due diligence process. Just to give you an idea what kind of companies come here, what kind of entrepreneurs come here. So it's varied. We've got companies doing BDA and AI from the Netherlands. We've got a fintech company from Australia. We've got an agri-tech company from the UK. And then from Japan, we've got a health tech company, and even Islamic digital economy. We have a company that has been approved from Singapore to set up an office in Malaysia. So now for the scale-up side of things, where companies or the tech companies that are pretty mature already and they are ready to go abroad to start their business, we also have programs for that one. And it's basically us, MDEC, having connected with a lot of partners in Indonesia, in the Philippines, Thailand. We've got 12 ecosystems here that we are connected with. So the types of partners that we have overseas are the channel partners, corporates, agencies, the media partners. So we have a bunch of all these partners there that are ready to assist and to facilitate the journey of our companies to go abroad. And I don't think it's limited to Malaysian or local companies. If there are tech startups, foreign tech startups that are ready to go abroad, we also facilitate that engagement with the companies. So just to inform everybody that we have this market access program that facilitates your journey into other countries and already helping you to also connect with the key stakeholders in those countries. On funding facilitation, we just want to share that we have a lot of funding activities at MDEC that we provide to the tech community. Alternative funding, we work on the ECF and P2P platforms to assist the companies. We have VC investor matching activities. We've got a venture debt program, even M&A program that we help to facilitate for large companies wanting to invest in smaller companies. We run competitions, we run grant programs for our tech local companies. And Founders Grindstone, the last one, is where we really help companies from end to end in terms of helping you to pitch, in terms of helping you to connect with mentors in specific fields, and then to also connect you with the right network and the right partners so that you can really progress and venture into your business more effectively. And to just show on how much we've done in 2021, we have facilitated over 46 companies that have used all these programs. And in terms of funds raised through our facilitation, we've managed to reach up to 87.3 million through the initiatives that we have here. So this is my last slide to show you that, we do all these activities, but we cannot do this alone, and that cannot do this alone. And so this is the breadth and the length of engagements that we do across the ecosystem. So we work very closely with other government ministries and agencies. We work closely with our tech community companies where we co-create programs with them. We work with the accelerators and the venture builders. We work with startup communities in different states in Malaysia so that we can really penetrate and to also reach out to the startup communities outside of the Klang Valley, outside of KL in Malaysia. Again, we work with media partners where we try to highlight or we attempt to highlight the successes of our companies to the rest of the world. Again, on funding and incentives, these are the people that we work with from the government side and the private side. And yes, we also partner with a lot of corporates where we encourage hopefully business opportunities, we encourage pilot programs, and we encourage more engagements between our startups and the corporates. Yes, market access, so we also work together with some sister agencies that facilitate market access activities for companies going outside of Malaysia as well as coming into Malaysia. And I've mentioned our Malaysia Digital Hub. So these are the 10 hubs that we have certified, that we co-create programs with them to benefit our community. And then in terms of talent, so these are some of the talent providers that we work with on building capacity and capability. All right, that's the end of my presentation, and I hope that I've given you a landscape of the Malaysian tech ecosystem in Malaysia. And if you do want to reach out to me for any inquiries and you want to ask more questions, please do so. My email is there. And again, thank you very much for your time. Thank you, NIA Thailand. And I hope to see everyone next time, perhaps in person. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. I am Tetsuaki Miura from Fukuoka City, Japan. Today, I'm really happy to join the wonderful event, site, and talk about our city's effort to support startup. Thank you for giving us this great opportunity. And let's start with the introduction of the Japanese market. Japan's GDP is the third largest in the world, and its competitiveness ranks 6th among the world's major economies. Japan's economic power is not limited to Tokyo. Japan's regional economy also have GDP as big as those of other countries. Fukuoka City is the largest city in the Kyushu region of Japan, and the Kyushu market accounts for about 10% of Japan's national economy, with its size at the same level as that of Austria and Thailand. Startup funding in Japan has also been increasing year by year, reaching 780 billion yen in 2021. If we look into startup funding by sector, the largest amount of investment is in SaaS, while AI has the largest number of companies. Overall, SaaS and AI are followed by commerce and the fintech sector. Fumio Kishida, who became Prime Minister of Japan in 2021, has clearly said that the country will strengthen its support for startups. Currently, a 5-year startup support plan is in the process of being formulated, which aim to dramatically increase the number of startups in Japan, as well as to attract more investment from outside of Japan. Japanese government has selected Fukuoka City as one of the global startup cities in Japan. Having been selected, startups in Fukuoka City can join acceleration programs from top accelerators such as Techstars and Will to expand their businesses. We are aiming for integration of startup support as a startup ecosystem by accelerating collaboration with supporting institutions, VCs, universities, and financial institutions. Next, I'll move on to introduction of our city. Fukuoka City is located in the center of East Asia, such as China, South Korea, and Taiwan, and has a population of over 1.6 million, making it one of the largest cities in Japan. In Fukuoka, there are a lot of universities and young talent. Office rent and the cost of living in Fukuoka are lower than other major cities, which makes Fukuoka a very suitable city for starting new businesses. Actually, Fukuoka City has the highest business opening rate in Japan. Fukuoka City is rich in nature, not only in the suburban area, but also in the city center. And also, our food are very delicious here. In addition, Fukuoka City has a history of 2,000 years. So we have many temples and shrines. Please come and visit Fukuoka in future. Next, our startup support. Firstly, we have a startup incubation facility called Fukuoka Growth Next, which has their own acceleration program, mentoring events, and so on. It houses 190 companies and functions as a center of Fukuoka startup ecosystem. Since it's opened in 2017, the amount of their fundraising are $189 million. Fukuoka Growth Next has a startup cafe to provide business consultation for startups. This cafe has been used for many startups as one-stop hub providing various support. Since it's opened in 2014, 609 companies were founded. Fukuoka City has its initiative to attract entrepreneurs from overseas, such as a startup visa, deduction of corporate tax, and the subsidy for their residence and office rental fee. We also set up a global startup center in Fukuoka, Growth Next, that provides consultation for global startups to enter Japanese market. Well-experienced advisors support all startups from overseas. In particular, Global Startup Center supports obtaining startup visa, localizing their product for Japanese market, procedure of company establishment, business matching, and providing pitching opportunity. After my presentation, Akiko from Global Startup Center will introduce the specific initiative, so stay tuned. Finally, I will introduce our global network. In cooperation with 15 partners in 11 countries and regions, we support overseas expansion of startups in Fukuoka, and also the entry of overseas startups into Fukuoka, Japan. In Thailand, we have concluded a partnership with NIA for mutual cooperation in startup support. We, as partners, have supported business exchanges between two countries. We also joined the Startup Thailand in 2019, exhibited our booth, and the startup had a pitching there. In addition, utilizing this collaboration, we host a global event, Ascension, every year. This event featured a dialogue between Fukuoka City Mayor Soichiro Takashima and a prominent entrepreneur and persons from abroad. For example, we had a talk with Taiwanese Minister of Digital Affairs, Audrey Tan, and the COO of San Francisco-based Decacon company, Notion Lab. The interview were archived on YouTube, so please search for Ascension 2021 and watch it. We also provide the opportunity of a match with prominent Japanese investors for overseas startups by hosting a business matching event. Well, this was my quick introduction about Fukuoka City's initiative for startup support. You can check our website on or newsletter and Facebook. Please visit our website, Startup City Fukuoka, to access more detail. Thank you very much.
Much for having me. Thank you so much for having me for this event. My name is Akiko from Fukuoka City Global Startup Center. So today I would like to introduce us, Fukuoka City Global Startup Center. So Fukuoka City Global Startup Center is run by the city government. And we are the contact window and executive unit for foreign startups and entrepreneurs. Our motto is a part of your team. Once you contact us, we are your first team member in Japan. We work with you, we execute projects together, even more. Sometimes we do tasks on behalf of you. So as you can see, our services are very wide range and available at any stage of your business. What I like to emphasize here is our unique business matching. We have strong connections with not only startups, but also big companies. Moreover, we have a good relationship with the local government and public organizations as well. That's why we can arrange very specific business matching, not just introducing each other. And this business matching service is available for any startups. That means even if you are in Thailand without having a company here in Japan, or moreover, without coming to Japan, we are happy to offer our networks for you to find your potential partners in Japan. So let me introduce some of the merit of starting business from Fukuoka when you expand your business in the Japanese market. The first point is the safety. Unlike the major big cities in Japan, like Tokyo and Osaka, Fukuoka is located on the side of the Japan Sea, and we have less earthquakes, which means we could say our location is safer than such big cities geographically. That's why big companies, even their headquarters in Tokyo, they have data centers in Fukuoka. The second point is our location. This is another geographical advantage. It is the close distance with neighbor countries. Once you set up the business here, you have the market not only in Japan, but it can be extended to Korea, Taiwan, and China. When you fly to Tokyo from Fukuoka, it takes about 2 hours. In 2 hours, we can fly to Korea, Shanghai, Taipei as well. That's why Fukuoka can be the gateway to Asian market as well. The next advantage, our third advantage, could be our startup ecosystem. Fukuoka is gradually known as the most popular startup city in Japan, since we have been building our unique startup ecosystem since 2012. We have many supports for startups, and you can find them once you visit our startup hub called Fukuoka Growth Next. It's where Global Startup Center is located. Fukuoka City has a project that supports implementation of POC in the city. The last point should be the compactness. Compared to the big cities, Fukuoka is of course smaller, but this is big advantage of us. It's not crowded and less competitive, and because of that, we have very strong community. Once you get into the community, it's easier to make new networks. And another point should be the cheap living cost compared to other big cities. It's important for startups to save your living cost so that you can spend more for developing your business. So here, you can see how compact our city is. So 10 minutes from airport to city center by subway. And the important city function is centralized within 5 kilometers. And the city is surrounded by rich nature, like beaches and mountains. It's very nice place to live and work as well. And I would like to remark this point as well. We are currently selected by the Japanese government as one of the candidate cities for competing to become Japan's next international financial center. So the Japanese government is aware of not only our achievement in the startup field, but also the potential as a global city. Fukuoka City has 15 partner institutions in 11 countries. We signed MOU to provide mutual support for the startups in the region. NIA and GSC hosted an online pitch event last year. So we are open to collaborate with organizations to support the startups. So let me briefly introduce our startup visa. So when you live in Japan and doing business, you need to have a business manager visa, and there is some requirement to get the visa. However, it's very difficult to fulfill the requirement from outside of Japan. So startup visa is 6 months to 1 year residence permit to settle down to prepare such conditions and to make sure whether Fukuoka is the right place to start your business before you invest. The main criteria of the startup visa are innovativeness and the feasibility of your business. The contact window for the application is Global Startup Center. So we can help you to brush up your business plan, and the city government will do the screening and make the final decisions. So after the startup visa expires, most of the entrepreneurs convert their startup visa to business manager visa. So let me introduce some startup cases. So we have Canadian startup. They use 3D scan technology to offer the experience of mixed reality. They have collaboration with Fukuoka City Museum already. And another case is Smarty. It is from China. It is Chinese startup, and they are developing smart chips with AI voice recognition that enable IoT without Bluetooth nor Wi-Fi. So their business is quite well, and they just opened a branch in China. So because of the COVID, the entries of foreign nationals was limited for about 2 years. However, the border was just open since March, and many startup visa holders are now many startup visa holders who have been waited for months and now entering Japan. So recently, there are 2 Thai entrepreneurs came to Fukuoka and are now preparing for starting their business here. So the one of them, his business is developing games, and the other one, he does his startup is fintech, and he does the business related to NFT. So now let me introduce our business matching. DiskMe is a Finnish startup to develop desk reservation system for co-working space and offices. With their services, you can easily find working desks and meeting rooms in your office on your smartphone. We connected DiskMe with JL Kyushu, the railway company. We introduced DeskMe when they opened a brand new co-working space in the Hakata station, which is Fukuoka City's main entrance station. Not only introducing, we supported initial settings on behalf of DeskMe. And this co-working space installed the system as a POC. After the collaboration with Q, we also connected with another co-working space in Tokyo. It's called Kickspace Haneda. They just introduced DeskMe to their facility last month. So DeskMe is gaining local feedback and network through these POCs. So another case is Silent. This startup is from Estonia. And we got to know with Silent in the Fukuoka's online event in 2020. Silent is manufacturing small booth offices with the best sound reduction technology. We connected them with a potential partner that is one of the largest office furniture companies in Japan. So actually, this company in Japan has similar product as Silent. However, the demand of such small offices getting high in Japan. Therefore, we propose them to have Silent as another product line. Then the company agreed to purchase the samples from Silent, and moreover, they showed more interest in collaboration after seeing their samples. They just signed NDA for further collaborations. As you can see, Fukuoka is the place you can start easy and start fast. If you're interested in business expansion in the Japanese market, we are happy to work with you. Thank you so much.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for the modern technology. So I'm available to participate in this online event in Shenzhen. Firstly, and on behalf of Task Park WHA, I would like to thank the MIA for the warm invitation and congratulate on the convening of SITE event 2022. First of all, I want to introduce to you guys about Task Holdings. Task Holding is a scientific technological investment holdings group which derived from Tsinghua University and committed to scientific and technological services and always take cultivating the growth of new high-tech enterprises as our important mission. And with 27 years of establishment, Task Holdings successfully established different scales of innovative incubation network represented by Tsinghua University Science Park and including nearly 200 high technology business incubators and nearly 20 science park. The global network of Task Holdings covers 10 million square meters and also covers more than 70 major cities in China, and as well as we have more than 10 overseas countries such as the US, Canada, and the United Kingdom, and also Thailand and Malaysia and Egypt, Asia. And we have more than like 20,000 tech enterprises, nearly 100 well-known college and university network among the well-known innovation network, and Task Holdings has a long-term friendly and cooperative relationship with the Thai government and university and business circles. In 2020, Task Holdings is honored to cooperate with WHA Group, Thailand's well-known list company, to establish Sino-Thai joint venture companies in the area of Chulalongkorn University, a leading university in Thailand, named Taspark WHA. And our goal is to strengthen the scientific and technology exchange and cooperation between China and Thailand. As an incubation services platform, Taspark aims to support the growth of startups, such as strengthen the exchanges between China and Thai entrepreneurs, incubated and nurture startups to establish and soft landing, as well as to promote the mutual transformations and their businesses. So TUS Holdings has cultivated and invested in more than 20,000 startups companies in the process of accompanying the growth of entrepreneurship and enterprises through these past 2 years. We have seen that COVID-19 is a big issue for many businesses. So they face with the new normal of human behavior. For example, people adopted the digital technology in their daily routines, such as food delivery and e-commerce and online meeting. Taspark WHA, as one of the Asia startup hubs in TUS Holdings network, also face severe issues that change ways to work with startups during the COVID-19. So there are three main issues below. Firstly, it's the less face-to-face communication. COVID-19, as we know that COVID-19 decreases transportations among each other. So the way to meet and communicate switch to online platforms like messaging apps or online meeting apps like what we're doing today. As you may feel, sometimes online meeting is a less effectiveness in communication than offline one. So we need too much meeting to discuss and solve problems. And in addition, networking sessions still need human touch and feeling that online tools cannot substitute it. And secondly, it is the new way of workplaces. So many organizations permanently change a workplace policy because of the experience during COVID-19 time. So for example, some companies adopted a hybrid workplace policy that need to reduce of office spaces. And some startups hubs face less demand in both co-working spaces and private office room. So the less startups move in, the less networking effects happens. And thirdly, it is a new way of startup event style. So there is much limitation to organize offline events and less confidence to join it. So many startups hubs introduce new way to hold events. So online event is necessary, but the forms are different. So for example, some organizers use virtual reality technology, means VR, to maintain user experience from offline one. So moreover, and the economic slowdown also plays a crucial important role in affecting startup support. Normally, the incubation services focus more than driving business growth, such as business matching and soft landing services, Astro. But however, during the difficult time, many startups need to, to survive first. So therefore, startup need their support resources to business survival. For example, some startups hubs must fund more funding sources to provide those startups. So, ladies and gentlemen, so nowadays the world is facing enormous challenges from the COVID-19 time. So, and also the political conflict. So this is neither the first time that we have faced the similar challenges, not the last. And the cooperation is always an important and almost the only way that humans use to meet the many facing challenges, no matter now or in the future. So in the same way, the entrepreneurship need to find a partner who will providing completely, entrepreneurship ecosystem, and such as the connection with the government, with the industry, with the university and research institutes and financial institutions, and also trade channels and also the media. So actually this is what we call startup hub. So this is the partner. So as you can see, so Park WHA ecosystem that we try to create to promote collaborations among each other. So how can those hubs in different countries that they can get connected? The answer is to help and cooperations of the global organization. It's under the help and cooperation of the global organizations. For example, Touch Holdings has more than 300 networking startup hubs in more than 20 countries around the world and more than 70 cities in China, which is enough to help you connect it to entrepreneurships and startup hubs in many countries. So moreover, and Touch Holdings has also set up investment funds pools of more than 14 billion RMB in US funds, Euro funds, and also RMB funds. So we investing in mostly in clean energy and life and intelligent manufacturing and digital economy and also new materials. So we can provide the financial support to foreign startups who want to raise funds. So with all that said, so we are also welcome all the Thailand entrepreneurs to expand your business in China, so which has a large population and advanced technology background, and also various government entrepreneur policy support. So Touch Holdings willing to work with all of you to strengthen the understanding and cooperations between the China and Thai governments, schools, enterprises, and all sectors of communication through various ways. So with the aim to contribute to the national innovation and sustainable development of China and Thailand, and the improvement of people's living standards. So finally, I wish this forum on site event 2022 a complete success, and wish you all of you the best of success in all your endeavors. Thank you.